Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another VCO Esports Studio Live with myself, Ben Constanduros. We have done nearly 80 of these now across the last couple of years, starting back in, I think it was June 2020, when VCO was in its very infancy. And the objective of the Esports Studio is to promote the best things about esports and to give you, the guys, an opportunity to get to know drivers, organisers, and what makes the industry tick. And I hope over the various different seasons that we've done and all the various different interviews that we have taken, that you get a good positive feeling from us, because there are many podcasts out there that could moan about all kinds of different aspects, especially in the recent past, with various very upsetting things, let's say, happening in the world of esports. And the focus, I think, across my Twitter page last weekend was the negativity. So I'm putting the negativity to one side and we're going to talk about the positivity. And there's one guy that I knew about when I started esports racing, and he probably was the most famous esports racer, sim racer, back in 2013, 2012, 2014 time. But for some reason, we never managed to get him on our VCO Esports studio. And last weekend, Bono Huis won himself yet another title by travelling all the way across to Abu Dhabi and winning the Season 3 of V10 R. So this was the perfect opportunity to finally get Bono on our programme. Bono, thank you so much for joining us. It's been difficult to get you here, but I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a long time indeed.
A little technical failure, because I can't hear Bono right now, but I'm sure he said something very positive about being part of us. There you go. I've got him now. Cool. We can start the interview. Bono, tell us about the V10 R-League and representing Mercedes as well, because that's kind of a relatively new thing for you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I was just saying, for us to go to Abu Dhabi in the final in this competition was already quite an achievement for us, because we did it for the first time. V10R was in its third season, so we were going up against other teams that have been doing it for a few seasons already. So for us to go up against those guys was quite a challenge, and then to end up winning as well was an amazing week for us. Yeah.
Yeah, a great team, sharing obviously with double champion Jan Otmir and Mercedes as a whole team have got so much backing over the last 6 months really. A live event in Abu Dhabi. Now, I remember you from many a live event and being able to absolutely master those. But this was a live event with a difference, because we haven't had those live events for the last couple of years. What was the experience like out there?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of my strengths to go to these live events and get used to the equipment quicker than the others and just sort of get on with it. But of course, it's been a very long time since we've done that. So I think the last one for me was end of 2019 in F1 Esports. And then, of course, COVID came. So we've always been racing from home or either from this facility here in Brackley. I was looking forward to it. We weren't really the quickest online. Or from home, whatever you want to call it. But I think there we were definitely a lot closer, and we could really bring the fight to any team. I really enjoyed being back on land again, and hopefully it was the first of many again. Yeah.
And it wasn't just a go out there, do a little bit of competition and come home, was it? You had lots and lots of cool experiences to enjoy Yas Island and the circuit.
Yeah, exactly. That's also the benefit of doing these competitions in person, on location and stuff like that. You get to do cool things, and of course, being next to the track, then it was quite natural that we would go on the track as well, which is always very cool. We don't get those opportunities quite a lot, so to go on the track with a Caterham this time, it was really a lot of fun. They were really nice little wagons to drive, so I really enjoyed that, and it's almost the best bit of it, that you sort of get these real life experiences.
And a little bit of competition as well with the other guys. I know James Baldwin was out there. Obviously, Jan Otmir with some real life experience. So some high-level competition for you guys to race against.
Yeah, also on the real track already. like building up to the race, of course, we're all very competitive. So in karting and then in the Caterhams as well, we're all fully sending it and trying to beat each other. But also in the competition, of course, with Baldwin, he was very very quick. He was basically the guy to beat in terms of pace. So on that first day for us, the semi-final, it was a very very tough day trying to beat him, and it really took a lot out of us to get into the final. And then you face Red Lion, of course, who have three amazing drivers, and you know you have to be absolutely perfect if you want to have any chance of beating them. So it was a really, really cool competition, very high level, and I really enjoyed it to be back on stage as well.
Yeah, tell us about more about that challenge of performing in front of. Well, I remember you guys doing World's Fastest Gamer, and that was a very kind of unique pressure cooker of an environment. What is it like being part of the Visa Vegas E-Race, V10 R-League, these arena events that might not necessarily have a crowd clapping at you like you see in F1 Esports, but those different challenges that you have to adjust to simply leaving home and the comfort of your own rig to go somewhere different. What are those different processes you have to go through?
Yeah, I guess the first thing that is already different is just your rig itself. So the steering wheel, the pedals, the screen, the seating position, everything is just different and not entirely what you're used to, of course. So you try and be as comfortable as you can, but you're never going to be 100% comfortable because it's just so different than what you're used to. So that was already a big thing. And then, well, that was basically the only thing you have to get used to on the Wednesday, which was basically like a prep day. And then Thursday, everything's changed. There's people around you, there's cameramen, there's the lights are flashing because of the broadcast and stuff like that. So there's so many distractions outside of your little space as well. But for me, it's something that I've never really had any issues with, but I know others can struggle with that quite a lot. So I always enjoy it going on LAN and on stage and stuff like that, and hoping that it gives me a little edge. So yeah, there's so many different things that can influence you, but you just have to be focused and stay in your little bubble.
You mentioned earlier V10R is such a unique event, unique competition. We did actually have the director of Gfinity, the concept director of the event, interviewed him probably episode 40, 50. So if you want to listen back to that, you can. They designed this specific car on AC to play against, designed this whole format. How difficult was it to get used to all the different nuances? It wasn't just simply qualifying, jump into a race, 20 cars around you, race a car for 30 minutes and finish. You had to get your head around so many different aspects.
Yeah, exactly. It's different than any other thing that we've ever entered. So, like I said before, the other guys had a few seasons to sort of get used to it, the format and the car especially as well. So it's very difficult. The game and the car I really like. So the Cedo game I really enjoy driving. I kind of similar to R Factor, so I really enjoy driving it, and I think I'm pretty competitive on it as well. The car was a lot of fun. But then yeah, the races with the relay races, for example, it's very unnatural that you just sit in the pits and you have to wait for your timer. You have to find your mark, how much risk you want to take on the timer, if it's worth going for to be a couple tenths over or to leave a second margin and this kind of stuff. You never really do that in any other series. So this was all quite difficult to get used to in the beginning. But I think during the competition we got better and better at it, and we got closer to the guys from the last few years, and then at the end we could really give it to them on track.
Quite a fascinating, different way of racing. Kind of, I put it in a similar vein to sailing, where you have match races and one-to-one versus or team-to-team versus then a kind of a normal race where you've got 15 or 16 competitors. It is fascinating. You haven't watched it, do find the YouTube links and online coverage of V10R, because it's a very different way of going about motorsport. You mentioned R Factor 2. That's really where I know you from, and I think you're probably best known for your exploits on R Factor 2. How important is it now for you, such a long way into your career, to be multi-platform and to be able to perform on all these different platforms these days?
Yeah, there's a lot of different competitions these days, so a lot of different platforms will be used, obviously. So it is very, very difficult to switch between these all the time. It's very difficult to be at 100% in every single one of them at the same time, because they all require a different sort of skill, different sort of finesse, and it's difficult to, of course, do that on a daily basis, sort of switch between those. I would say R Factor is still my game. I'm still the most used to that, and I've been doing that one the most in my life. So it's just something that comes really natural and easy to me. Been doing F1 esports the last 2-3 years, so 18, 19, and 20, and I can never fully get used to that, for example. So it was something so off to me that it was very, very difficult to reach the highest level. I could get points, I could get a podium here and there, but to really compete for wins and championships was just not on the cards. And so for these competitions to pop up and for me to focus on V10 R and Formula Pro and all these competitions on R Factor and etc., then I can fight for wins and championships again. And that's been something that's been super enjoyable for me in the last couple of years now. Yeah.
Everybody who's a competitor likes to win, right? And so you're always gonna feel better with the car that makes you win or the platform that makes you win. And very interesting to hear the challenges that you faced on F1 esports, because for so many outside of the sim racing world, they would say, oh, but it's easy because it's an arcade, so it's easy to get to your limit. But actually, it sounds like for so many of you proper sim racers, it's really hard to find that last tenth or two.
Yeah, exactly. And at that level, that's the difference between P1 and P10. So it's all very close there. And yeah, it's mostly just about feeling, just being confident with the car, knowing what it's going to do, knowing how you have to push, how you have to save, and stuff like that. And it's very difficult to sort of have a feeling for me in that game of being on the limit and how far you can take it. Well, I said before, like on R Factor, I jump in and it's obvious to me in 2 laps how I can go quick and how not. And in F1, I never really fully managed to get on top of it in 3 years. So yeah, it's a whole different game and philosophy of driving. So I'm happy with what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
It's been a while actually since we've had the big names of the motoring industry like Porsche back in 2017-18 was their sim racing summit. BMW obviously over the last couple of years, huge player in the sim racing world, and great to have those big German manufacturers, the titans really of the car world, represented in the sim racing world. But it's taken a while for other people to catch up, and middle of last year was when Mercedes-AMG Esports really cropped up on our horizon as being something significant. Even if they had an F1 esports team since the inception of F1 esports, it was only really for that. Now it looks as though Mercedes-AMG Esports Team is absolutely meaning business and serious about their sim racing as a whole. You talk that you're actually in Brackley right now. Just tell us the kind of seriousness, if that's a word, that Mercedes are putting into their sim racing these days.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting in the esports room in Brackley in the Mercedes factory. So that in itself is already super cool and really shows the commitment that Mercedes is putting into this. So we've got 4 amazing rigs here with the best equipment possible. So we're all taking it very, very serious. And as you said before, we were only doing F1 esports really until last year when we started entering more and more competitions. And this year has been quite busy. So it's really enjoyable to do more than just F1, which I really, really missed these last couple of years. For the years before that, and then doing it these last couple of years again. So yeah, we will keep doing this and hopefully keep competing for wins. But yeah, really enjoyable and really, really happy to be part of this team.
F1 is obviously a very great commercial entity, and obviously with its branding, with the marketing, has a very high impact level for any brand to be involved with because it's Formula One. But how do you think all of the other competitions that you and I know very well, that you've been competing in for 10 odd years, obviously Mercedes now consider they sit at a similar level to be getting involved in the plethora of different competitions that exist?
Yeah, exactly. For us, it's more about becoming the best sim racing team out there. And if you're only going to do F1 esports, then that's not going to be enough. You have to sort of expand and do all the platforms and all the other games. So for us, it's more about doing that as well on the side and really do all of these competitions and try and win them. We don't enter them to just hang around and get some podiums. We want to win everything, and to win V10R for us as a team was quite big already, because it proves that as a sim team we are making steps, and we are amongst the legendary teams that have been around for 20 years, and we can take the fight to them.
Must have been a huge step for you to go away from the powerhouses of sim racing, to go into, I suppose, to go into F1 Esports isn't a big step because it's logical, but to move away from your comfort zone must have been personally quite a big challenge for you.
Yeah, to leave, well, not leave because I'm still with Team Redline, but sort of to move everything towards the Mercedes team. It all has more of a stake, you know. It's like more pressure. There's more people involved. There's more partners involved that you want to please, of course. So there's more and more at stake, and it puts a lot of more pressure on the drivers as well to sort of get it home. Because, like I said, we're not here to mess around. We're here to win, and of course we all try our best, but it's very, very difficult against these guys. So for us, winning the V10R competition was a big moment for us. That proves that we're not just here in F1 Esports, but we're a serious competitor in all of the leagues.
How does it rate personally for you in comparison to all the other titles that you've won, whether it be titles that we might not necessarily have heard of because they weren't the grandest of big shows, or the Vega E-Race, which was obviously a very big show at the time? Where does this experience rate in comparison to your other successes?
Yeah, I think it's up there. It's a different one, of course, because all the other ones were more like driver based, and this one is very team based, where you really rely a lot on your teammates. Like, you cannot win by yourself. So I think we had a really, really solid team with Jarno, of course. He was always very, very good in the race starts and relays and stuff like that, and always getting us in a good position. And Cedric would take over, and he was always very solid and very reliable. And then I would have to sort of bring it home at the end in the 2 laps. So I think we were a very good little team, and we made everybody's life very difficult. And also to get one over my Team Redline friends in the final was, of course, very enjoyable. So yeah. Very good. Really enjoyed it. It's definitely up there because, like I said, it's the first time we did this competition. And to bring the fight to those guys and to win it straight away is a massive achievement for all of us. And the first time again in LAN after 3 years, and to show that we still got it and we can do it in person as well was a big moment for us. Yeah.
You've been around this so long. I mean, you're only 28 years old, but there's so many kids coming in 18, 19, 20 that make you look ancient. I mean, makes me look like a grandfather. Do you feel as though you are still performing at your best? Are you still getting better? Do you look back on the younger Bono and think, actually, do you know what? I should have been a bit more like this, a bit more like that. How does your career move from back in those days as a young guy to a more mature driver now?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to real life, where a lot of the guys say they just get better and better because they just learn more and get more experience. And I think it's just the same for this, to be honest. I don't feel like I've lost any speed. I don't think I've lost any performance in qualifying, for example, or any of that. I feel like I'm way more complete. Like, I can drive way more different sims. I'm better at setting up the car. I'm better at reading the data and all these little things outside of driving. So I think the more you drive, the more experience you have, and especially for these kind of events as well, to go out there to Abu Dhabi and to perform in front of people in with an audience and on a rig that you've never tried before. I think it only helps to have the experience that I have had. So I could see for a few other guys that it was their first time like driving on a LAN event, and they were really struggling with it. So I think it's, as things open up now, it's definitely an advantage to have that experience as well.
And have you seen the competition, the world of sim racing, evolve and become more challenging? How have you analysed the journey that sim racing has come on since you've been involved?
Yeah, it's come a long, long way, a massive way. Like, even from starting with equipment, like I started off with like a G29 strapped to my desk, driving with a single monitor. Now we've all got a rig that's worth a hell of a lot of money, and we've got the best equipment with our sponsors and partners. So already the feeling for us and the equipment already makes us so much quicker and better, because it's just so much easier to drive in that sense. It's better and easier to feel the car. But then also with these F1 teams coming in, everything is a lot bigger and there's more at stake. Prize money is getting bigger and bigger, so you do feel the pressure a lot more. But in a way, that's also where the fun is. You don't want to drive around from your bedroom and in front of 50 people or whatever it was back in the day. So this is a lot better, and I really enjoy it that it's taken off. It took a while because I've been around for a very long time, and for a long time it didn't really seem like it wasn't going anywhere. But then the last 5-6 years, ever since the Visa Vegas E race, I think F1 picked it up, and then COVID really made it blew up. So it's been very cool, and very happy to still be part of the journey, and hope to be around for quite a few more years.
So many boxes ticked, Bono, from you. So many experiences had thanks to sim racing. What would you like to do in the future? What are your big goals still to achieve?
It's a good question, really. I haven't really given that much thought. I think for us, just to compete more and more in these championships and try and keep winning them. Hopefully, a couple of real life experiences down the road as well, which I always seem to enjoy a lot as well. I guess that's for most sim racers the dream, to sort of compete in real life, even though I'm getting a bit too old for that. Sorry?
Yeah, it is for you. You still would dream of a real life opportunity?
Yeah, I've given it a go a few times. To drive a car on the real track, and nothing comes close to that experience. So I've always done like little test sessions here and there, never any races. So I think one day I would like to do that. But of course it's very expensive and almost impossible to enter. So yeah, it is a dream of mine for sure. And like I said, nothing will beat that feeling. But I'm very happy at what I'm doing at the moment as well with esports, with all these competitions, and together with Mercedes, I think we've got a really good group of drivers and people around it as well. So I'm really enjoying the whole process of working with them and trying to really win these competitions that we enter.
Well, thank you very much to yourself for joining us this evening on VCO Esports Studio. I hope we get to see you in a VCO supported race at some point in the future. And if you do want to listen to Bono's teammate, Jano Otmir, who took victory alongside him, then you can scroll back through our podcasts. Jano spoke to us after his second F1 Esports World title, and that was a great interview as well. So there's plenty of links and opportunities, but a massive box tick to have Bono Huis on our VCO Esports Studio, finally.
Yeah, it took a while, didn't it? But yeah, it was really good to be on, and if you guys want to have me on again, I'll be happy to join. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We don't know who our guest will be next week. I'm sure there's plenty of things going on. I know there's a couple of pro esports races alongside the 24 hours of Spa. You might see my face crop up, or at least hear my voice on one or two of those across the weekend. A proper Spa 24 hours. Fingers crossed. Anyway, and there's so much more sim racing from the club racing spectrum all the way through to the professional spectrum every single day of the week across VCO Esports and across all of your preferred channels. So until our chat show next week, thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy your sim racing. Bye bye.